Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our FY 2025 FPAC IT Industry Day. My name is Cheryl Welch, and I am the FPAC Small Business Coordinator and your host for today's event. I want to welcome you and thank you for your interest. So Teams Live event provides one direction broadcasts. This event is also being recorded for people who cannot attend today. And as an attendee, you are not able to share your audio or video feed. So with that in mind, please submit any questions you have through the moderated Q&A. You can do that by clicking on the chat icon in the upper right-hand corner of the screen. That opens a sidebar chat room that allows you to type your question or comment. If you prefer to remain anonymous, select the anonymous option. So we have included some time today to answer questions at various points during the event. We do not expect to answer all questions within the time available because it is a very tight schedule to cover everything that we want to do today. So please include the opportunity and/or topic you wish to address with your question. And we will consolidate all Q&As by close of business August 30th and distribute them out to everyone who attends today. We will continue to accept questions via email to me through August 6th of 2024. Live events has an anticipated delay between the presenters and the audience. So again, just be aware of that. Teams Live events also offers closed captionings. To turn on closed captions, click the event menu ellipsis and then click turn on live captions. Note that this feature is in preview development and the live captions may not be 100% accurate. If you experience any kind of connectivity issues with sound, etc., consider disconnecting from the VPN and/or log off and log back in. Teams Live Events also offers the ability to pause the meeting. If you'd like to pause the meeting, click the pause button in the lower left-hand corner of the screen. And then to resume the meeting, click the button again to play. If you'd like to jump to real time, click on live, which is located next to the play pause button. We'll provide the presentation slides of today's event by close of business tomorrow, August 2nd. We'll use the attendee list from this event to distribute those. Again, Q&A responses will be provided no later than close of business August 30th via email. We are also recording this session, and that will be provided a link to that by close of business August 30th as well. For FPAC attendees, you're entitled to 3 hours of CLPs. You will need to submit those through Seaside, and if you have any questions about those, please reach out to Ben Aldridge at his email up there. Okay, folks, this is very important, very important. Acquisitions development is a fluid process, and any strategies or information discussed here today is subject to change. Please take note of that. And with that said, I'd like to turn it over to Tanya Gross for opening remarks. Tanya.
Good morning. I'd like to welcome all of you and thank you for joining our FY 2024 FPAC Industry Day. I'm Tanya Gross, the Assistant Chief Information Officer for FPAC, and I'm really excited to see all of you and appreciate your participation in our event today. I'd like to first thank Cheryl Welch, our Small Business Coordinator, and also Kara Cochran, our Acquisition Chief for ISD, and also all of our ISD experts that will be presenting today, and also our POD partners for the partnership and all of the detailed planning that have gone into this event. I'm really excited and really appreciate all the efforts that have been to make this a success. Our FPAC IT portfolio encompasses many opportunities for partnership to execute some really exciting work efforts. So I'm looking forward to you seeing all of this and being a part of this engagement. Today, you'll get a chance to hear from our FPAC team as they share more about the dynamic and amazing FPAC IT portfolio. Please enjoy the presentations and thank you for joining. Please welcome Kara Cochran, our IT Acquisition Section Chief, to discuss the FPAC IT portfolio overview. Kara, good morning.
Thank you, Tanya, and good morning. Cheryl, next slide. Our agenda is, you obviously just heard from Tanya. I'll be talking about our IT contract portfolio overview. We have our contracting office partners from the USDA Procurement Operations Division and the FPAC Acquisition Division. We'll be talking about acquisition strategy and an interested vendor survey that we are collecting information from you after the event. Then each of our program offices will discuss specific individual FY25 opportunities, and this will be a full 3 hours, and as we head right up to 1 p.m. Eastern. Next slide. So FPAC is the Farm Production and Conservation Mission Area is USDA's focal point for crop insurance, farm programs, farm loans, and conservation technical assistance and other services to America's farmers, ranchers, producers, and conservationists. Within the mission area, we have 4 federal agencies: the Farm Service Agency, Natural Resources Conservation Service, Risk Management Agency, and the FPAC Business Center. These 4 agencies partner with the Information Solutions Division to deliver, operate, and maintain a mix of cloud-based SaaS, software as a solution, COTS, commercial off-the-shelf, and custom-built IT solutions to support mission delivery. FPAC obtains our network services, our end-user hardware, our data hosting, our cloud services, and our frontline security monitoring from the USDA Office of Chief Information Officer. That is, they are our service providers. We do not acquire these services directly. In fact, if anyone contacts me about selling these services, I will refer them to USDA OCIO. At its heart, FPAC is a software delivery organization. Our annual IT requirements represent just over $500 million in software delivery services, SaaS and COTS products, geospatial data, and supporting functions. We have roughly 175 active contracts with varying periods of performance, and the portfolio has stabilized over the last few years to the point where we have 15 to 20 continuing IT service requirements that recompete on an annual basis. Or let me say that differently. Of our entire portfolio, roughly 15 to 20 of our requirements are up for recompete that year. And that's over the next 5 years. Additionally to that 15 to 20, we have SaaS and COTS renewals and emerging requirements that simply come up during the year, and that does increase the opportunities available during the year. USDA continues to embrace a small business first approach, and requirements are often set aside based on socioeconomic category. So with this in mind, Cheryl Welch, our small business coordinator, is our quote front door for information on upcoming opportunities. I work closely with Cheryl, and she is the first port of call for any of our acquisition planning teams as they're embarking on or digging into market research activities. Based on the size and complexity of our IT services, we do begin acquisition planning 6 to 18 months before the contract award. So we are preparing acquisition requirements and conducting market research for the FY25 procurements now. FPAC ISD works with multiple contracting offices, including the FPAC Acquisition Division, the USDA Procurement Operations Division, and various parts of GSA. FPAC AD and POD will speak to their approaches and priorities today. And with that, I would like to welcome Mike Denny, who is the FPAC Acquisition Division Enterprise IT Section Chief, to discuss FPAC AD's acquisition strategies. Mike?
Thank you, Kara, and good morning, everyone. My name is Mike Denny. I'm the section chief for the IT enterprise section within the FPAC Acquisition Division. My section acquires software and hardware for FPAC-wide end users and awards and administers ordering contracts utilized enterprise-wide throughout FPAC. So we utilize various methods to fulfill the IT needs of end users within FPAC. The method applied to fulfill each new requirement is informed by market research. This research is a collaborative process with other government stakeholders, and it includes identification of existing ordering contracts that have been previously established to fulfill recurring needs. And also we survey the market to identify available sources through sources audit announcements on sites like NASA SOUP, GSA, SAM.gov. When multiple small business sources are identified as potentially capable of fulfilling a requirement, then we will coordinate with Ms. Cheryl Welch to set the solicitation aside exclusively for small business participation. Also, to supplement our survey of the market, we'll often coordinate with Ms. Welch while developing our acquisition strategy to assess if she's aware of any small businesses that may possess the required capabilities. So I encourage you to please continue to correspond with Ms. Welch with your capability statements in areas of interest, and we'll continuously assess that pool of available contractors. Listed here on the slide are various methods and NAICS codes we've used to fulfill IT requirements before and anticipate using going forward. Also, the Stratus BOA is a relatively new tool available that we intend to use for software as a service requirements. We're looking forward to completing the training requirements to acquire the delegation of procurement authority from OCP to start using that tool in FY25. Also, for your awareness, a new marketplace was recently established on NASA SOUP to expedite the acquisition of computer monitors. And we anticipate re-energizing that effort next fiscal year. So please be on the lookout for opportunities if you're in the hardware provision NAICS code. We also perform aerial imagery acquisition utilizing USDA internal ordering contracts with both large and small business. This imagery primarily supports the USDA NRCS with its land conservation efforts by capturing current imagery using manned aircraft and satellites. So for many of the software and hardware source selections, we use LPTA award criteria since the requirements are often for COTS commodities associated with a specific brand or salient characteristics. Occasionally, though, we will utilize trade-off evaluation methods for requirements with potential to be fulfilled using more than one possible solution. An example of these are conference room upgrades, so new AV installations, and also many of the aerial imagery orders where an innovation might be possible or additional value yielded through potential trade-offs. So that's it for me. I'd like to thank you all for joining us and for being interested in supporting the USDA, and I look forward to doing business with you in the future. I would like to now hand it off to Chris LaShore, the USDA Procurement Operations Division Contracting Officer, to discuss the USDA POD acquisition strategies.
Hello, everybody. My name is Chris LaShore. I'm with the Procurement Operation Division, and I'm going to talk to you today about the acquisition strategy that we use for our market research. A lot of times we try to go to any USDA BPAs or IDIQs that are currently available, but they are limited on who can use them at times. So they're not always used, but they are explored. So then also we use the NITAC, which is a big one that we use, which is the SB3 small business. And the reason why we use that one is because we like what they have to offer. They give us the opportunity to use small businesses to help them get in their government requirements. It gives the government agencies a mechanism to help with social economic goals that they have, and also has 137 labor categories. And then also they have 10 task areas that we are able to use that can help narrow our buy down to certain vendors. The SB3 has been extended, for those that don't know, until 4/29 of 25. And then also we use, as you can see, the next one we use is the GSA STARS 3. This is another government-wide acquisition contracts that we can use. This one is narrowed down to 8A industry partners, and this one is also a good avenue for us to use, because we can also use this one to narrow down our selection. Even within the 8A, where we have social economic categories that we have to meet, we're able to meet it by narrowing it down and ask for different social economic statuses. Next one that we like to use as well is the GSA multi-award schedule, formerly known as IT-70. This one's used if for some reason we're not able to get any of the other ones, any other good selections, or it's limited, then we may go out to the IT-70. The next one we'd like to use also is the SBA 8A program. This one is where we will, we're able to award up to $4.5 million to an 8A organization, or $25 million for Native American vendors. And with this, we send out a letter to the SBA asking, we send them an offer letter, which in turn they send us back the acceptance letter. The next one we use also is the GSA Vets 2 program. This is usually set aside for veteran-owned companies. And then one of the new ones that we're getting ready to use now is the Stratus. This is a basic order agreement, as you can see, and it's got 3 pools with it. It's a 10-year agreement, and it also allows the USDA the ability to on-ramp and off-ramp vendors very fluidly. It's very easy to do for us. So this is a new process that we're using. And then for pool 1, this is mainly your hyperscale, which entails storage, DevSecOps tools, software development tools, security tools, asset license management. And then for pool 2, which is the integrated and development support, this unifies intake. It has a governance and cloud architecture, cloud engineering, security approach, performance operations, and change management. And then also with pool 3, we got software as a service. And this is used for commercial software providers such as Salesforce, ServiceNow, and others. This one will be used for all of our software needs. Not by itself, because actually, as you can see on the next one, NASA Soup, that is another one that we will use for software as well, if we're not able to go through the Stratus. And then also we use open market SAMs for anything that we're not able to use any of the other pools. And if we looks like we need to go with a large business or whatever, we'll use the open market process. So we're going on to now to the potential evaluation approaches. As you can see, each one of these has a final evaluation approach and factors, which may include the below and others that are not listed. And also POD uses the DHS, the PIL, the Procurement Innovation Lab, as an acquisition techniques as they change throughout the year. What we use most of the time is it's a multi-phase approach, which is also called a 2-phase approach, which will have a phase 1 that's usually references a prior experience. And then from there, we'll usually go to an advisory down select. The advisory down select is a recommendation. If you receive this notice, it's usually for the purpose of trying to mitigate the contractors or vendors from using unnecessary resources to move on to phase 2. So this is just an advisory. You are able to move on to the next one, but it's unlikely that it's very likely that you may not win an award. And some of the best values that we use, as you can see, are prior experience, oral presentations, technical approach, and management plan. And then pricing is not evaluated, but it is reviewed for best value purposes. And then also social economic status, as I mentioned before, is used to help narrow down the pool to social economic groups that we need to meet through the SBA programs that we have. And then for our IT buys and computers, we use the comparative analysis where we compare either through the IGCE or we compare it to historical pricing or the competitive vendors that are requesting the actual purchase. At this time, next slide. Now I'm going to talk about the FPAC Industry Day survey. This FPAC invites you to participate in the market outreach survey in conjunction with the FPAC Industry Day. This market outreach is in its new phase of the market research for fiscal year 25 requirements. The information gleaned from this survey will provide the follow-on target market research engagement by requirement. As you can see, there's a QR code that's here. If you can use your mobile device and you can, or your computer, and scan that, or if you're unable to do that, there's a website right there that allows you to take the survey as well. So you know that even though you're an incumbent, we recommend that you still take this survey because things may have changed, and if you don't respond, this will not be included in the market research, which will, you may not be recognized as someone that's interested in certain contracts. With this, I'm going to turn it over to Kara Cochran with the Information Solutions Division IT Acquisitions Section Chief.
Thank you, Chris. So this is going to be our first question and answer portion of today's event, where we will focus on the information that was just shared. We have had a variety of questions coming in. Excuse me. The first question, Mike, I'm going to direct to you, and I'm actually going to combine two questions in one. The first is, what is Stratus? Is it a contract vehicle? So if you could talk a little bit about what Stratus is, but then also specific to our software requirements, please explain in more detail on when you would use Stratus versus Soup for your software requirements. An example would be great.
Yeah, thanks, Kara, and thanks for whomever submitted that question. That's a great question. So Stratus is a new ordering, well, it's a BOA, so it's a basic ordering agreement that was stood up by the by POD recently, I think during third quarter. And I understand that it consists of multiple pools of contractors capable of various IT related capabilities, be it services or software and hardware provision. So it's going to be most useful and relevant to the acquisition that we perform here within the FPAC acquisition division to utilize Pool 3 for SaaS software procurements. And it's such a new tool that its use relative to our use of currently of Soup is sort of unknown because we utilize Soup heavily right now. So I don't mean to provide such a a nebulous response, but we'll have to take the training, acquire the delegation of procurement authority, research the available sources for SaaS software within Pool 3 and FY25, see which route would best fulfill the government's requirement in terms of technical capability, which route would best facilitate maximum competition, and which route would best uplift the small business community as well. So it would just depend requirement by requirement.
Thank you, Mike. The next two questions I'm actually going to tackle first, but then ask Mike and Chris to chime in and add if you need to. If not, that's fine too. The first one is, do you have a plan to do you have an on-ramp process for the Stratus BOA? And I am going to share what I have been briefed on, which is yes. The contracting officer who oversees Stratus, which is through the USDA Procurement Operations Division for that enterprise contract vehicle, they have built an on-ramp process into Stratus, and there is, I believe, information online. When we publish our Q&A document, we will make sure to include the link to the Stratus BOA so that you have a place to look for more information. The next question is, what is the estimated percentage, or what estimated percentage will Stratus be used for new FY25 FPAC acquisitions and opportunities? And the answer there is we don't have a set percentage. We set the procurement strategy based on the requirement, what the requirement is telling us we need, what our market research is revealing to us. We take into account things like socioeconomic targets. So we do identify certain set-asides to help us meet those targets. But while Stratus is a strategic source for USDA, we have not set aside a certain percentage of our requirements that will automatically go there. We let the requirements and the market research speak to us on an individual basis. Mike and Chris, is there anything you want to add to that?
No, I think that was well said. Like I briefed during my slide, we perform market research prior to moving forward on any new requirement, and we would just let the market research kind of guide us, as it pertains to, just current socioeconomic goals and which route would best facilitate those goals and facilitate maximum competition among small business.
Thank you. This next question is for Mike and Chris. There again, I'm going to combine a couple of different parts. One is, will you look at using Oasis or Oasis Plus? And then the second part of this is, if we don't have any of the certifications in GSA, small business, as a small business administration, 8A, Stratus, NASA Soup, etc., are we still capable of getting awarded contracts? Maybe Chris and then Mike, or Mike
sure,
and then
Chris,
Chris, either way.
Yeah, so for most of these requirements, yes, we would actually look at Oasis. We have looked at those in the past, so that is an option that we do have. Sorry, I didn't put that on my slide, but that is an option that we could use. And then also, in order for some of these that you do not have, like I said, we will be doing some open market stuff that where you would be able to potentially put in for some of these projects that are, if you don't have the other means, or you may have the opportunity to do teaming agreements with some of these contractors and be added to some of these different programs that are out there. So that's another option that you may have.
Yeah, I just have to basically echo what Chris just said. Like, we'll consult Stratus and Soup and utilize those mechanisms to the maximum extent that we can, but it doesn't preclude us from going open market as well. Like I said in the slide that I briefed, often the market research that we conduct does include performing a source assault even on the SAM.gov government point of entry. So it's definitely worth continuing to monitor SAM.gov for opportunities to support USDA.
Kara,
Yes.
we're at 7 minutes. However, we are ahead of schedule. Did you want to do a couple more questions?
Yes, let's take 5 minutes and do more questions here because we do have a fair number of questions. And as you said, we are ahead of schedule.
Perfect. I'll let you know when it's about 10:35.
Thank you. Okay, scrolling down here, for Stratus, what is the difference between pool 1 and pool 2? I'm going to take a stab at this based on my understanding, but then Chris and Mike, please feel free to again chime in. Stratus Pool 1 is focused on cloud hosting providers, and that's pool 1, and then pool 2 is focused on more of the delivery capabilities. So if I think of our requirements, pool 1 is something that we would be going through our USDA service providers through USDA OCIO, and then working with them for any cloud hosting and acquisitions, whereas pool 2 might align more to our software development and delivery requirements that are more of our other types of IT services. We have a question: can we participate in market research without having any contracts at this point in time? Absolutely, yes, please do. We are interested in everyone's ideas. We are interested not just in working with our incumbents, although our incumbents are absolutely strong and have worked well with us, but that does not preclude us from bringing others in. We want to find out what fresh ideas are out there. We want to welcome new entrants into our requirements. So if you are seeing a requirement as we go through today and it resonates with you, absolutely, please express interest. When we talk about attention incumbents with our market research survey, we're just reminding incumbents to also fill out the survey because we want your voices to be registered right alongside all of our new entrants and folks that are interested in joining us. I do know that as Mike and Chris were talking about Stratus, and they both talked about it, we talked about pool 1, 2, and 3. As a general rule of thumb, and this is not an ironclad rule, we the Information Solutions Division tend to send our service requirements to the Procurement Operations Division, which will resonate more with pool 2. And we tend to send our software, SaaS, COTS requirements to the FPAC Acquisition Division, and that's going to resonate more with pool 3. And there are times that POD, the Procurement Operations Division, handles software requirements for us. There are times that the Acquisition Division handles service requirements for us. But we need 2 contracting offices to keep up with our workload, and so that's a bit of how we have been doing that split. We've got one more question that's a little bit different. Would you discuss our preferred contract approaches for services? Do you tend to use firm fixed price, T&M, etc.? We again let the requirement speak to us so that we are using the correct contract approach for that requirement. That said, there is a preference for fixed price in that if we need to go anything other than fixed price, we need to provide a justification. It doesn't mean that we can't. It doesn't mean that we won't. Again, we're going to structure the contract for whatever is right for that requirement. But we do keep an eye on how can we embrace performance-based contracting. How can we make sure that we are driving clear understanding and accountability across the board, government and contractor. And so it isn't a you will do this, it is a what is right for this requirement. We do have some other questions, including a set of questions around the presentation and sharing it. Yes, we will be sharing the presentation by tomorrow. and we'll be sharing the recording and the Q&As by the end of the month. Our last question, and I do see time, Cheryl. Our last question is, could we share the emails of the presenters today for us to reach out? We're not going to do that. Cheryl Welch is our front door. And so we do ask that all inquiries come to her. She does have good relationships with all of us here on the event today. And so she reaches out either through me or directly to one of those presenters to engage them and pass along questions. When we get to the acquisition planning teams, who will be taking information from the surveys that you share, et cetera, those acquisition planning teams may actually initiate reach outs as part of their acquisition planning as well. In fact, I'm going to talk about that on the next slide. So Cheryl, if we could. Thank you very much. So FPAC ISD has 13 continuing IT service requirements, plus our software licensing and subscriptions in FY25. Today, this is an introduction to these requirements and an opportunity to identify interested small businesses. Acquisition planning teams for each requirement will conduct more focused market research, which might include RFIs, surveys, focused interviews, requirement-specific industry days, and reverse industry days. The market research is tailored based on the needs of the requirement. We've not included the Conservation Prometheus Agile Release Train or the Farm Program Software Delivery Services, BEACH, in today's event because these requirements are already past the market research stage of acquisition planning. Any questions related to either of those two requirements must be directed to the contracting officer. And in both cases, that contracting officer is Lee White. A program representative will present each requirement with a focus on the agency need being met, a brief description of the requirement, what quality performance of that requirement entails, historical information about the requirement as it's being performed today, and important success factors that we expect to look for in prospective offers. Time permitting, we will follow each presentation with a brief Q&A session for that particular topic. If we don't answer your question today, whether it was in the Q&A session we just had or in any of the upcoming ones, we will address it in the follow-up Q&A document by the end of the month. And with that, I would like to welcome Angela Ackerley from our Financial Management Division. She is the Systems Development Team Lead to discuss the FIP Product Management Support, or Chestnut 2.
Thank you, Kara. Good morning, everyone. I will cover the FFIP Product Management, or Chestnut 2 opportunity. Our target award date is Q4 of FY25. We are planning to do an iterative implementation of this requirement. So you'll notice that our contract value or the annual value varies across fiscal years. In FY25 and 26, we anticipate between $1 and $3 million value. And for FY27 through 29, that would be $3 to $5 million. The FFIP project will migrate our financial functions and our data from our legacy general ledger application to USDA's core financial system, or FEMI, while we simultaneously remediate feeder systems to create auditable financial data. In addition to the farmers, ranchers, and producers that we serve as customers, we also serve partner agencies, which include NRCS, RMA, the FPAC Business Center, FAS, RD, AMS, and USDA's OCFO office. Our requirement is broken down in 5 basic items. We have business process reengineering, which will design our business processes with appropriate internal controls and audit compliance for the programs FSA CCC programs that we will migrate to FEMI. There is an organizational change management component that will provide communication, some dashboarding, as well as training, development, and delivery for our FEMI users. There is a data conversion component that will identify the data sources and the data, perform data cleansing of that data, and convert that data into FEMI. There is a consolidated reporting component where we will ask for a strategy to provide consolidated reporting across the legacy and FEMI environment until we're able to migrate all programs to FEMI, and then possible execution of that strategy. And then there is the internal control and audit compliance component where we will ask that the processes that we are developing for FEMI are audit compliant, as well as have the appropriate internal controls. How we will measure quality, as far as the scaled agile component, we do have an agile release train where we have PI planning. We will have planned business value for these deliverables, and we will compare that planned business value to actual business value. We will look at the timeliness and accuracy of the deliverables, the use of and alignment with USDA FPAC and industry accepted practices, and the effectiveness of the stakeholder engagement. Historically, we had our vendor team resources embedded in each of our value stream teams, and we were working on the components of this contract simultaneously. We will be taking a different approach in the future in that our vendor partners will be part of a shared services team, and we will iteratively begin to do the work across the award, as you see here on the slide. The business process reengineering we anticipate will run between FY25 and FY29. Our data conversion and data cleansing between FY26 and FY29. The reporting component FY27 and 28. Internal controls FY27 through 29. And our organizational change management FY27 through 29. Based on our experience, what would make a successful candidate for this award would be extensive experience with SAP ECC federal financials, an awareness and ability to execute agile, scaled agile, and SDLC in the completion of planning and the execution of tasks, and the experience working in a multi-vendor, multi-organizational integrated product team. In the case of FFIP, we will have multiple vendors delivering program financial support, agile support, and then on the OCFO side of the house, their SAP development and O&M teams. At this time, I'd like to ask Kara if there are any questions.
Thank you, Angela. We do have 2 questions so far, and I'm going to help you out on both of them, actually. The first one is, do you have an estimated RFP release date for this requirement? And I'm going to provide a general answer that applies to all of our requirements that we're going to talk about today. You can see the target award date on the slide. My best recommendation for tracking a target RFP date or a target solicitation date would be roughly 1 quarter or 3 months earlier. That is rough. Because we are we'll be working through the acquisition planning process, and of course, if we're able to release something earlier, we will. But that's just a general rule of thumb. We also had someone express interest in this requirement through the Q&A, and I encourage anyone, if you are interested in any of our individual requirements, that you fill out the vendor survey. You will have an opportunity in the survey to identify the specific requirement that you are interested in, so you can your name will go on the list. Even if you are a large business, it is okay to be expressing interest. We do tend to do small business set-asides because we are small business first, but that doesn't mean we don't want to know about large businesses who have interest, and you may be able to pursue partnering agreements with other small businesses that also are interested. I'm going to caveat that to say we are not in the marriage counselor business over here. Our next question is, Angie, what is the legacy system? Is it getting migrated from, so that folks can understand that data conversion requirement?
Okay, we have multiple financial applications that will be the source of the data conversion. Those systems will continue to live. They perform different financial processes and are part of different value streams. But the core general ledger is the application that will be shut down as soon as we're able to migrate all programs to FEMI. And the core general ledger is a mainframe application.
Thank you. There is a question: who is the current incumbent for this requirement? And I'm going to start us by saying this actually is a, quote, new requirement, in that we do not have an active contract providing these services today. Angie, I do not recall off the top of my head. I know that we used to have these services, and then we paused for a while. If you know that incumbent's name, we can say it now. Otherwise, we can include it in the Q&A document by the end of the month. It's okay if you don't know.
It was TerraThink.
Thank you. Okay, we've received a couple of questions about, has a vehicle been selected? The answer to that is no. We are at the very beginning stages of doing our market research, pulling together our requirements packages to share with contracting office. So procurement strategy conversations for everything we talk about today, those procurement strategy conversations have not started. Decisions have not been made. So we do not know if a particular requirement is going to use an existing IDIQ or something like Stratus or something completely different. We're figuring that out, and we want the market research to help us figure that out.
And Kara, we're at time.
Thank you very much. So with that, I would like to welcome Brent Reinhardt, our Program and Financial Integration Team Lead, to discuss the FPAC Financial Systems Agile Support.
Hey, good morning, everyone. Thank you, Kara. The FPAC Financial Systems Agile Support Contract target award date is third quarter of fiscal year 25. Estimated annual value is between $1 and $3 million. And the agency need is that FSA and Commodity Credit Corporation, or CCC, programs have unique financial, accounting, administrative, and budgeting processes that require a dedicated suite of IT applications, most of them web-based, some of them, the processes are mainframe-based still. And these implement specific requirements and integrate with USDA's core financial system, or FEMI. These systems, many of them can be accessed by federal, state, and county service center employees, and some of them can also be accessed by producers and other external customers. What we're looking for on this contract is scaled agile framework or safe agile support services, including functions or roles such as release train engineer, Scrum team coaches, product management analysts, and part-time coaching on safe best practices for the program financial services program. This team will coordinate across multiple organizations, both federal and contractor teams, to drive out comprehensive planning and delivery meeting that meets business owner objectives, including enhancement to program financial service applications in support of the FSA CCC Financial Improvement Program, or FIP. Software and development and delivery services are provided under a different contract, so there will be no development included on this contract. We measure qualities by whether the program roadmap and supporting program increment plans reflect relevant stakeholder objectives and concerns. Program leaders should be equipped with timely, relevant, and comprehensive information to make informed risk-based decisions. Program planning and execution should reflect safe leading practices for federal environment, and federal and contractor teams should demonstrate continual improvement based on formal and informal coaching. Our current Agile support team consists of 7 to 9 resources that support management of an Agile release train with 5 separate Scrum teams. The daily support services provided include Scrum team coaching, product management support, release train engineering, and occasional or part-time coaching in safe best practices, kind of on an as-needed basis. Based on our past experience, important success factors would include experience and expertise with safe, agile on complex development projects, experience coaching development teams and business or product owners on safe methods and ceremonies, and experience coordinating multi-vendor integrated product teams and other external teams. And in this case, the other IPT members would include program financial support, FIP project management, and OCFO's FEMI, SAP development, and O&M teams. And now I guess I'll turn it over to Karen to see if there are any questions.
Thank you, Brent. And we do have a question. What is the current Agile maturity level or adoption level?
I'm not sure that I can answer that question right at the moment. We have been using Agile for quite some time. On this release train, we've adapted it and have been using it for several years, but I'm not sure that I can give you an exact answer on this. I don't know if Angie Sieg would happen to know the answer to that.
This is Angie, and I think we should get back to you on that. I would consider us a pretty mature Agile with our Agile processes. As Brent said, we started this in 2019. So we've been, using these practices, safe Agile practices, for 5 years on this train, and we continue to improve as we move along. But I don't know if we have an actual level that we could quote at this point.
Thank you, Brent and Angie. We do have a question about the contract vehicle that will be used for both of these opportunities. Again, we don't know what our procurement strategy or our contract vehicles are at this time, but you can certainly take some of the information that Chris shared when he was talking about the procurement operations division approaches as an initial. This tends to be our pool that we tend to take a look at. I don't have, oh, just a second. What is the term of the contract? 3, 4, or 5 years? Giving the caveat that this is subject to change because this is acquisition planning and it is fluid. Brent or Angie, for that matter, do you know what your initial thinking is here?
Yes, I believe we were looking at a base and 4 option years is what we were considering at this point.
Thank you. We do have a question. Who is the current vendor? I want to call everyone's attention to the bottom of the slide, and sometimes it's on the left, sometimes it's on the right. On this slide, it's on the left, but we do list the incumbent names for who is providing these services today on each of the slides so that you do know who that incumbent is. I know that that's information we haven't always provided before. We have a question. What contract will be used for the software development and delivery services? Brett, do you want to talk briefly about Chestnut One and what it does?
Sure. We have a contract in place with, I believe it's Candor, that provides development services. We have development contractors and testers on each of our Scrum teams, varying from, I believe, master developers and senior level developers. And we have business analysts included on some of those teams. And I believe that's similar to this in duration. It was a 1-year contract with 4 option years. And I'm not sure what the final date of that contract. I think we're in our 2nd year of that contract. Is that correct, Angie?
We just started option year 2, June 1st.
Okay.
Thank you. One of our next questions, will the vendor who assumes this role for the FPAC Financial Systems Agile support be restricted in their ability to bid on the software development work itself due to any conflict of interest? And I'm going to start us out by saying likely yes, because if this role is about providing that coaching, that expertise, being almost an extension of the government and helping the government, then that would be a bit of a conflict with the delivery contract itself. Brent or Angie, is there anything you want to add to that?
So Kara, you're correct. We want this to be an independent contractor that's not part of the software delivery portions of the train. So yes, they would be restricted from bidding on that. But please remember also that one won't be recompeted until I think the current one ends May 31st of 2027, I think. So.
Although we will have overlapping periods of performance if we're going out with a base plus 4 for this one, this requirement will extend past the deadline or past the expiration date for the Chestnut One contract that is doing the software delivery.
And we're at time.
And then the other piece of that, Kara, and Angie Ackerley, I believe the FIP product management support one would need to be an independent from our FPAC Financial Systems Agile support also, because this FPAC Financial Systems Agile support will also work with the FIP product management support team as a shared services team.
Thank you for that clarification. Cheryl, I heard that we are at time. So thank you everyone for the questions that you've responded. Anything we didn't get to, we will address in the Q&A. And I will now welcome Doug Cartwright, who is a Conservation Section Program Manager, to discuss the Conservation Agile release trains.
Thanks, Kara. Good morning, everyone. I'm going to go over the Conservation Agile release trains. The target award is fiscal year 25 Q3. The estimated annual value is over $50 million. The agency needs NRC provides technical assistance on conservation practices to provide landowner and regional and local conservation partners based on the Farm Bill and other legislative mandated programs and requirements. Various IT applications automate business processes supporting mission delivery. Some of the services include conservation planning, conservation financial assistance, conservation practice standards, conservation practice design and implementation, information tools for internal and external stakeholders, monitoring and reporting of outcomes of conservation implementation, natural resource data collection and delivery, emergency watershed protection, and other conservation programs as defined. As you can see, there's a lot of services for the Conservation Agile Release Trains, quite a few services there. What is the requirement? Agile software development and delivery services, including development, modernization, enhancements, as well as maintenance of custom and COTS-based solutions. FPAC currently uses scaled agile framework, and this is used heavily throughout all of the conservation trains, SAFE. And this requirement will result in multiple awards. How do we measure quality? Did someone say something? Okay, how do we measure quality? Delivery is measured using a percentage of the business value achieved and defined by objectives scored and approved during program increment planning. So basically, we define this through, we define this through PI planning with our objectives. Also, quality considers the number and type of software defects at delivery and completeness and accuracy of system documentation. Going on to historical information and current information, there are 5 conservation agile release trains. These 5 agile release trains are part of one solution train. METIS provides systems needed to work with clients to develop a basic conservation plan, and there's 18 teams. METIS is, I believe, the largest train that we have for the conservation agile release trains. Money provides systems to develop and manage landowner agreements, contracts, and partnership agreements. There are 16 teams. Prometheus provides systems needed for developing component plans, conservation practice, implementation requirements, designs, and specifications validation. 19 teams. And I believe Prometheus is our smallest team. Odin supports the integration of science models and development of resource systems that collect, analyze, and deliver data and information that contribute to the success of all internal agency and public natural resources program. We have 13 teams for Odin. And then lastly, we have Olympia supports track and support agency operational management, as well as the status of progress and accomplishments toward delivering NRCS mission. And there's 12 teams for Olympia. And then we have 2 factors here that deal with our important success factors. The first one is management and technical teams with knowledge and experience with agile safe methodology, security, DevOps, and cloud technologies. And then we have a management team with strong knowledge and experience with strategic planning and the implementation of large IT systems. And we have 5 incumbents for the Agile Conservation Agile Release Trains. First one is Highland Technology Services, New Tech Solutions Incorporated, Spatial Front Incorporated, Ventura Corporation, and lastly, Eagle Harbor Solutions, LLC. So, Kara, I'm going to turn this back to you for any questions.
Thank you, Doug. We do have a variety of questions. I'm going to take the first few, and then I will have some for you as well. We have a question, is this the ELM 3 recompete? This requirement for the Conservation Agile Release Trains back in fiscal year 20 was the ELM 4 requirement that resulted in the Conservation Blanket Purchase Agreement. We also have had a couple of questions come in about, will this be an IDIQ or a BPA? Are we looking to consolidate multiple contracts? We are expecting multiple awards off of this. We are talking about this on a single slide, even though this actually is multiple multiple requirements, perhaps multiple solicitations coming out. All of that has not been settled yet. But because these trains are so consistent and in fact operate together in program delivery, they share program increment planning events, they work on the same rhythm, the same operational rhythm set by the government. We felt it was important for us to talk about these as a single requirement, with the understanding that we are supporting multiple value streams, which may generate multiple task orders, delivery orders, contracts, whatever the case may be. So is this the ELM 3 recompete? No, ELM 3, and I know the numbers are confusing. ELM 3 actually was awarded last year under the Farm Loan Program Modernization and Maintenance through GSA. This is ELM 4. Don't feel bad about confusing the numbers. A lot of people do. But we do not have an exact procurement strategy set at this point. I am not anticipating any approval of significant bundling. So Doug, a question for you. For all of these program requirements, do each of these groups have current preferred data platforms that they can share, like Salesforce, ServiceNow, Appian, etc.? It would be good to know what the core platforms are for these programs, as some of us may only be able to support or innovate with certain platforms. And if the program is committed to a particular platform, it would save a ton of time and effort. I know you won't be able to answer every nuance of that question, but could you talk a little bit about our approach to our current technology platforms and any plans for the future?
Yeah, sure, Kara. Well, currently right now, when you look at some of the trains, they do have somewhat of a different technology stack right now, but the plan is to move, we're trying to move to AWS. There's a big effort underway right now to move to AWS and get in the cloud. So that is the direction that these trains are headed into. And that's what we're looking at right now, in that direction, going to the AWS cloud.
Thank you. Our next question, is the work on CART performed on the contractor site, the government site, or on a hybrid basis? I will help out to say that we are not providing government site. Nothing is performed on the government site on a day in, day out basis. We in the past have had on-site planning events, program increment planning events. We have now moved those to virtual, but there is discussion about whether or not they may be in person again. But again, that would not be the day in, day out work. Whether that could happen on a contractor site or remotely, that is entirely up to you, but we do not require that folks be on a government site. Doug, could you give us a sense of the average size of a Scrum team on one of these trains?
An average Scrum size, it could be, some of the smaller teams have smaller Scrum sizes. They could have maybe anywhere from 4 to 6 people. And then some of the larger ones could have anywhere from maybe 8 to 14. So it just depends on the typical application that they're building and what are the requirements. But I would say anywhere from about 6 to 14, anywhere in that range.
Thank you. I see a question here about the incumbents. All of the names listed under the incumbents, those are the prime contractors. Will this be a 5-year contract? At this point, conversations are around a base +4, but that has not been settled. So that is we're currently thinking that, but acquisition planning is a fluid process and subject to change. We do have a question, is any of this work or for any of our other projects ever classified at any level? We are not, yes. Are we at time?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. I will respond to this one to say that no, the work that we are doing here in FPAC does not fall within the classified area. And with that, we will stay with Doug, but move to our next slide as Doug talks with us about conservation systems engineering and technical assistance.
Thank you, Kara. This is the Conservation Systems Engineering and Technical Assistant. This is typically known as CETA, and we call this CETA for short. The Tech Target Award is fiscal year 25 Q3. The estimated annual budget is between 3 and 5 million. What we're looking at is we're seeking to continually to improve software quality and mature scaled agile framework processes for the conservation area. Essentially what we want to do in the end, we want to deliver better software, better quality software to our end users. Brief description of the requirement. CETA will provide the government with recommendations to improve delivery of systems, applications, and software based on independent and neutral observations. So we want to get good software in our end users' hands. How will we measure quality? Data-driven recommendations, identify tangible actions the program team can take to improve software quality, gap analysis, and recommendations on program use of safe best practices to drive effective program delivery. Sorry, I have a cold. Data-driven recommendations, identify improvements, addressing cross-organizational challenges and pain points. And historical information. The current team of 8 resources provide performance-based reporting, recommendations for improvements, and root cause analysis and agile coaching. The CETA team works in a multi-organizational, multi-contractor environment, including coordination with NRCS and ISD leadership, solution train, 5 agile release trains, other supporting teams, and sister programs. So this is an inclusive. We're trying to look at the whole scope of NRCS when we're talking about CETA, so they can make recommendations based on independent and neutral observations. What are the success factors? Experience in safe best practices, experience in IV&V analysis in a complex federal environment, including root cause analysis, experiences in software testing best practices, experience with primary technologies, and FPAC's technology stack, especially Pega, Salesforce, and AWS. The incumbent is J3 Consulting. So back to you, Kara, for questions.
Thank you very much. We have had a couple of questions come in. I think some of them may have trailed from the last time as well. I'm going to answer this first one. Will these opportunities, and for these opportunities, will FPAC give weight to the incumbent or new vendors welcome and as well? I'm going to answer this on behalf of all of our requirements. We do not give weight to an incumbent. We always engage in competition that is looking for the best solution to meet the government's needs. If that is an incumbent, great. If that is a new vendor, fantastic. We want every opportunity, every time we're going out with a solicitation, we want to end up with the best solution that is going to maximize value and mission delivery success for the government. There is another question about, will we consider offering targeted and interactive information sessions with the programs represented, so that interested companies can obtain further information to be able to put their best proposals forward. The market research will be guided by the individual requirement. I'm going to go out on a limb on behalf of the conservation area and say, yes, I am encouraging the teams to engage in some more interactive market research, information sessions, things of that ilk. To make sure that we are creating an open field where everyone has an opportunity to bring forward that best solution on behalf of the government. We've got a question: will this vendor be allowed to respond under the multiple conservation agile release trains? Again, I'm going to chime in there and say no. There is a clear organizational conflict of interest between this CETA requirement and the trains, and also another train that we have that is currently in flight, which is called the Conservation Solution Train. So anyone doing CETA will not be able to do work on any of the other software delivery that touches the conservation program delivery area. And we had a question come in about program management. Doug, do you want to take just a moment, and if you want me to chime in, I can, about solution train, agile release trains, and CETA, and how these requirements fit together?
Yeah, Kara. I think like I said, at the end of the day, when it comes to CETA, the whole goal here is to improve software for the solution train and all of the arts within the solution trains. So essentially what we're going to do is CETA is going to go around and talk to all of the arts. They're going to talk to Money, Moneta, and so forth, all of the trains, and basically work with them, look at the software they're developing, how they're developing, look at all of the processes, and make recommendations to improve those processes. And hopefully we can implement some of those changes within PI planning to improve the software at the end, when they come out for releases. So that's the whole goal, is integrating CETA within the solution train and the art to improve the software.
Thanks, Doug. We have a question. How are you approaching no-code, low-code solutions to help with upskilling as well as deploying faster software?
I don't have the answer to that question. I will look into it, but I'm not sure exactly how we're handling that. But that is a very good question.
Thank you. I see a question. What tree name was this? I will confess I do not remember if we assigned a tree name to this requirement ever, or if I've simply forgotten what it is. We are starting to move away from the tree names. We were using the tree names when we were honestly recompeting over 80% of the entire contract portfolio, and I needed a convenient way to keep track of the requirements and not lose my mind, since many of the requirements had very similar programmatic names. So we are moving away from the tree names as we have stabilized, and we've reduced the number of competitions on an annual basis. On the conservation CETA work, will this work support the agile release trains? And given the current size, do you anticipate to increase given the number of agile release trains? Doug, I'm not sure if you have information on this, but if you do, maybe we want to talk about how we have seen the CETA services increase in size as we have seen growth on our existing trains, and whether that would be a trend that we might expect to continue if the agile release trains grow as well.
Yeah, we have seen some growth with agile release trains. Each train has a set number of development teams. They have scrum masters, and different requirements come in where we may have to add maybe one or two additional teams, development teams. So I would surmise that if the agile release trains grow, that CETA would grow to some extent with it, because we have currently 8 resources now. And right now, those 8 resources are covering all of the agile release trains. But I do surmise that if those trains do increase dramatically in size, that CETA may increase as well.
Thank you. And then I think our will being a CETA provider on this program inhibit bidding on any other work related to this program and or on other FPAC programs? On this program, absolutely. And because this program does interact with other programs, there may be organizational conflicts of interest with some of our other programs as well. And all of that will be identified through our internal conversations and will be listed out and documented in the solicitation. And we do have a tendency to share draft solicitations or draft PWSs as soon as they're available, so folks can see an early look. We don't share them until they're ready to be shared. And then thank you very much. So now we will move. See, this is why Cheryl keeps me on track. Now I will welcome Roop Anakapati, our ISD Shared Services Section Chief, so that he can talk about our FPAC data management and analytics requirement. Roop?
Good morning, everybody. I'm Roop Anakapati, Chief Shared Services Section FPAC ISD. I have the responsibility for managing the FPAC data engineering and analytics projects, partnering with the Assistant Chief Data Officer, ACDO organization that leads and manages the FPAC data strategy and data governance. Today, I will be presenting the data management and analytics requirement. I have Tara Wiedemeyer with us here. She is the ACDO lead data analyst that will support me present this requirement here. As an intro, as USDA strives to be a data-driven organization, the data is our most important asset. It helps manage the program delivery, program operations, and scientific modeling. It helps drive our decision-making and insights. It helps inform policy. It is used for scientific modeling and analytics. So with that intro, I will briefly talk about what we do, and we'll get into our requirement. As you may have gathered, our organization deals with the data primarily. We are responsible for developing, maintaining, and supporting the data engineering pipelines, data marts, data warehouses, reports, and analytics dashboards. Our users are primarily agency national, state and field office program and management staff, and also the public. We enable the delivery of data for public access as part of Open Data Act through the USDA data catalog and other government channels. We are in the process of modernizing our legacy solutions, as many of these current solutions are running end-of-life support situations on both hardware and software. And we are embracing AWS cloud solutions. So with that, let me get into our requirement. So our requirement is a data architecture, data administration, data engineering, data analytics, data management, and support services for the FPAC agencies. So our target award date, as you can see, we're targeting Q2 FY25, and our estimated contract value per year is approximately $10 million or so. So as I said, we cover the requirements for all FPAC agencies. For FSA, primarily this will involve providing data engineering, data administration, and architecture support, running EDW, Enterprise Data Warehouse, which is an Oracle Informix, OBIEE, Reports, and Hyperion BI Studio, an on-prem solution, and it is migrating to DART, Data Analytics and Reporting Tool, on AWS Cloud, primarily running on AWS native services, S3 buckets, Redshift, Aurora PostgreSQL, and OAS. So we are going from using IBM Data Stage, SSIS, Control M jobs, to using AWS services, including AWS step functions, Lambda functions, Python scripts, Amazon Glue, Amazon Athena, etc. And we handle full data loads as well as incremental data loads. Okay. Our source data comes from a variety of operational data sources. For FSA, this includes farm records, customer data coming from, say, SAP, Oracle, and programs data as well from SQL Server, and there are the multitude of program data, including farm loans, conservation programs, financial data. I think we went over those earlier in this presentation, FFIP, FEMI, NFC, from a variety of different databases, SQL Server, Oracle, DB2, mainframe, etc. So the data runs into tens of terabytes hundreds of schemas, Oracle and Informix, right? And also we have thousands of ETL jobs and database tables. For example, Oracle and Informix tables run into, like Oracle, we have 5,000 plus tables, and Informix 2,000 plus tables, and schemas, Oracle probably 74 schemas, database schemas, Informix probably 20 schemas, etc. Right? That kind of paints the picture for you, what we're dealing with here. So as I said, the migration to AWS is a work in progress, and our current contract has been providing us these services. I believe starting in, we're approximately 2 years into it, April 2022. Yeah, this will also involve moving some of the schemas from Cloudera solution, which is on EDAPT, which is our reporting and analytics platform, hosted on AWS GovCloud. Into the AWS native solutions that we're pursuing. So our OBIE reports, there are about 400 of them. Again, they will migrate over into either Tableau dashboards or into OAS reports, as I have previously described. So this is all for FSA. Okay. Now let me get into NRCS requirement. So NRCS, as part of Inflation Reduction Act, we have a requirement to put together a data model, architecture, and a blueprint involving a variety of internal and external data sets for greenhouse gas quantification. Okay, this is a big mandate from the Congress, and it is going to be a multi-year requirement. And we've just completed a proof of concept on it, and that proof of concept will get into the realization part in the next couple of years. It's a big requirement. And also for all the agencies, we provide the Tableau dashboard reports and analytics support. Okay. In addition, this requirement also calls for providing data governance, data strategy, and support for the ACD organization. Okay, so that kind of paints the picture for you in terms of what we're looking for. Our incumbents are Applica solutions on the dashboard side, analytics side, Steampunk and ANR for the data engineering, on the data engineering projects. Right, so then how do we measure quality? So quality, as we deal with data and data, presenting high quality data for reporting and dashboard purposes, etc. I have talked earlier about how important good quality data is, as it's going to have great ramifications because it's going to be used for various different purposes. So ensuring uninterrupted, reliable, secure, and performant data is going to be a performance measure for us. And also, as I said, our legacy solutions are migrating to AWS Cloud, so we want to ensure that is completed on a timely basis. So that's going to be another performance measure, and I talked about the data quality. So aside from those performance measures, FPAC has an annual CSAT, customer satisfaction survey, that's done on all our applications. Okay, that survey goes out to our end users, and we gather their responses on the UI UX experience, our data quality, and also our application performance. So in this case, EDW/DORT and other requirements are going to get measured, for customer satisfaction on a yearly basis. We want to stay up on the service scores. So we are, so it's a feedback loop with our end users that we have to improve our applications, taking the measures that are necessary. Oh, sorry.
1 minute. No, you're fine. 1 minute left, sir.
Well, yeah, thank you. So just quickly going into how our current contractors support this work. So we have approximately about 5 staff that do the data modeling, design, and architecture, And we have about 40 staff that provide the data engineering services, mainly the ETL services, right? Writing those Python scripts and glue jobs and Lambda and step functions, etc., and also providing the support for on-prem, Oracle, Informix jobs, and our data analytics staff that's well versed in Tableau development, and also ad hoc queries and on all of these data sources we talked about, and also Amazon data sources, and providing the data strategy and governance support with 5 people about. And important success factors. Making sure you have.
Cheryl, he can have 2 more minutes to finish.
I'm good with that. I'm so good with that. Thank you.
Yep.
Yeah, right. So you can read on the screen, right? I mean, so from our experience, I truly, you will be working in a cross-functional environment. It is very important that the collaboration and coordination for your success is paramount, right? And strong technical program management and leadership is going to be necessary to oversee your technical staff, and also communication with the stakeholders. So those are going to be your primary success factors. So with that, I wrap up presenting this requirement, and I'd like to offer Tara Wilmer if you would like to chime in any things that I may have missed.
I'm actually going to jump in. This is Kara, not Tara, Kara. We are at time for this requirement. Thank you to everyone for all of the questions that you've submitted. If you have additional questions, please don't hesitate to submit those. And at this point, I will welcome Kurt Benedict, our FPAC Business Center Services Section Chief, to brief our FPAC digital website support requirement.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Kara. As she mentioned, this is the FPAC digital website support target award Q3 of FY25, estimated value between 10 to 12 million. What we're looking for is vendor that can continue the work on the redesign and support of our websites across the 3 agencies, FSA, NRCS, RMA, as well as the Business Center. Requirements. We need a vendor that can look at and support the existing product backlog that is out there for the redesign and content of our websites, as well as working across our business stakeholders to identify any new requirements and capabilities, and working closely with our external affairs division within the Business Center, who's helping to lead this initiative. And being a government agency, another factor here is that we have typically deadlines for specific programs, for specific mandates and directives. We need to be able to be sensitive to the nature of getting content and capabilities published to support these deadlines. And the last part here is taking a user-centric approach and strategy as we design and publish the website content, making sure that we're taking all that into account. Measuring quality. I mean, obviously, we need to be having websites that are, defect-free. We don't have broken links. All the capabilities on the websites are current and work. We can't have users questioning our confidence because the link doesn't work, or the content is not current, or as some other piece of the navigation is broke. We need to take into account all of the compliance, making sure that we're looking at the design from a US design strategy and design system, looking at that, as well as our FPAC design system, which closely follows the USDA design system. We need to be looking at any legislation and making sure that we're aligning with that, such as the 21st Century Integrated Digital Experience Act, or any executive orders like the customer experience executive order, making sure that we are following that guidance in the development of our content for these websites. We also need to make sure that even though we're supporting 3 separate agencies and a business center, that we have a consistent user experience. We shouldn't be going from an NRCS program on their website and then coming back to the business center and looking like a totally different, we've left a totally different agency and website. So we need to make sure that we have that consistency. Historically, this has been a smaller team supporting this effort, doing the UI UX development up front, as well as back end database integrations and the DevOps integration with our tools, and the beginning the redesign work. We are currently have migrated our NRCS websites over to this new platform, and we're looking at getting FSA completed and then looking in the pipeline for RMA in the business center. So important success factors. Drupal experience is a must. That is our underlying platform that has been identified at the department level that we are supporting. As I said, we migrated NRCS, working on FSA, and then we also have the other agency in the business center as well. Other tools listed here. Obviously, the vendor should have experience with tools such as these or equivalent to be successful. Any background with Oracle Web Content or with Salesforce, understanding any cybersecurity mandates, any cybersecurity scanning software for websites, all of that kind of background will help in a vendor being successful in supporting FPAC. The current incumbent is Aluit Information Technology, and I will open it up for questions, Kara, at this point.
Thank you, Kurt. Our first question is, the incumbent is an 8A contractor. Will the requirement for digital website support for FPAC be an 8A set aside? And I will answer this. At this point, our thinking is yes. We have no plans to approach the Small Business Administration to move this requirement out of the 8A program. I say that with the caveat that acquisition planning is fluid and everything is subject to change from this. We do not have a vehicle identified at this point. The most we know is that this is is expected to be an 8A set aside. We do have a question about, we've actually received a couple of questions throughout the various topics about periods of performance. We will look at adding periods of performance to the information or providing that as part of the Q&A document. Again, making sure that everyone understands that information on periods of performance is preliminary. Whether or not this will be an 8A ANC set aside, I do not know. That procurement strategy has not been set. We simply know that it will definitely be part of the 8A program based on the information we have today and the conversations today. I do have a question for you, Kurt. Could you please provide more details on how Oracle WCC, Salesforce are relevant for the FPAC digital website support?
Yeah, thank you. So currently, our farmers.gov website is built on the Salesforce platform, and they've got applications built underlying on Salesforce. So I think just some background there would be good as we begin the migration of our farmers.gov website as well. We also have some content that's on the Oracle Web Content that's also being moved over to Drupal platform. So again, it's just any experience there would probably be helpful as we do these redesigns.
Thank you. And our next question is, are websites already FedRAMP compliant, or is getting there part of the requirements?
Here, I'm going to have to defer to the team on this one, so I may have to get back with an answer on this one.
Okay, thank you. Our next question, what platform is being used to host the FPAC digital platform? IKEA or another hosting platform?
Kara, let me get back on this one as well, please.
Okay. The last question that we have right now is, for all of these procurements, will you try to get an RFI out first? I will answer this. And the answer is yes. As a general practice, we are releasing RFIs. I want to strongly encourage everyone to participate in the vendor survey where you are expressing interest. But as a general approach, we, working with the contracting offices, do tend to share draft versions of our performance work statements and ask for feedback on it. We do RFIs where we have questions where you might be providing feedback on the PWS, but also answering a couple of questions for us. Our contracting officers do RFIs to enhance any market research that our program team has done in terms of supporting socioeconomic set-aside decisions or contract vehicle decisions. So it is unusual for anything to go out without there being, at a minimum, one RFI, if not more than one, leading up to it. Those are all of the questions that I'm seeing related to the digital website support. And so we're going to stay with Kurt and move to our next slide to talk about the FPAC Digital Records Management System. Thank you.
All right, Digital Records Management, or DRMS. Target award is Q3 of FY25. Estimated value between 5 to 10 million. FPAC has developed a records management system, DRMS, for a number of needs within FPAC, obviously to support our records management branch and facilitating our permanent and temporary records within FPAC, as well as our compliance and integration with NARA requirements. So requirements for this procurement, obviously this is a custom developed native application hosted on the AWS platform. DRMS integrates with a number of FPAC services, as well as an intelligent document processing software, Tungsten Automation, formerly known as COFAX. This web-based system allows users access to electronic records and forms, and the ability to not only search, edit, but also to ingest new electronic records into the system. We also have APIs that are being developed that will allow our what we call our mission delivery applications or program applications to submit records, to search, to edit records that would be stored within the DRMS system. Current incumbent is Brilliant Corporation. Measuring quality, we have, since DRMS supports a couple of our agencies as well as the Business Center, it is critical that we are able to work across our business stakeholders to identify, we have competing priorities here. So we need to be able to identify what the requirements are, how do we prioritize those requirements, and come to a consensus on the acceptance criteria for those particular requirements. It's very important that we have software that is defect free. We can't have records out there that we're trying to manage that are going to NARA or potentially other critical information that's working across our program applications, and we have capabilities or functions that aren't working within the system. We need to make sure that we're aligning with all of our specific compliance, whether it be 508, whether it be department level NARA compliance, or whether it be within our information security FPAC team or department security requirements. We need to be aligning with our quality gates in the development process, whether it be Sonar Cube or other tools in our CI/CD stack. Historical information: the minimum viable product went out last year. However, due to a couple of reasons, one is we had some new NARA CFR requirements that came out that we need to incorporate into the system, as well as some additional stakeholder capabilities that they wanted. We did not open DRMS up to FPAC users at that time. We are working on releasing MVP 2.0, which will go out later this month. We have a rollout plan in September with an anticipated pilot program that will open up in October to the first users of the system. So what we have at this point is we have a fully functional web-based interface where our records management team can manage schedules and records. We have the ability for users to go in there and to ingest and scan on demand new records into the system. We also have APIs that are interfacing with one of our MDA systems, program applications, to receive records and be able to allow them to search and edit records within the system. Proven success factors. Obviously, we need a team that's strong in agile software development. Ideally, scaled agile is what we're looking for. We have been leveraging scaled agile. We've been doing PI planning events to bring our stakeholders together to agree on those priorities and get consensus on a plan for the work for 3-month increments. We need a team that is strong in being able to communicate and bring together various stakeholders to consensus. As I said, we've got agencies in the Business Center records management team that have different competing priorities. We need to be able to work through those and have that good customer service and working with the stakeholders so that everybody feels that their needs are being addressed and that we're being able to prioritize in a correct manner. And then lastly, we need a team that's technically strong. We have, again, a native application on the AWS platform. So having that experience with AWS tools, being able to automate software delivery through pipelines, being able to integrate with COTS packages such as Tungsten automation, being able to also integrate with other services within FPAC, and also, continuing to build those APIs with our mission delivery applications and programs to be able to support their needs for an electronics management system. And then lastly is, having that background with specific NARA requirements and having some experience with dealing with those types of records and compliance. All right, that's all I had, so I'll open up for questions at this time.
Thanks, Kurt. Will FPAC stay with Tungsten Kofax or move to a different platform?
Currently, we're still evaluating that. The plan is to go out with MVP 2.0 with Tungsten. We would like to continue to leverage that throughout the next year, and then at that point, we'll do some analysis. If there's a better tool, or if we feel like we're not getting the value out of Tungsten, we may look at some alternatives. But at this point, we are moving ahead with Tungsten for at least the foreseeable future.
Thank you. Is there a CMMC NIST 800.171 requirement?
Offhand, I'm not familiar with that requirement, so I'm gonna have to go check on that one, Kara.
Okay. I will actually take the next couple of questions that are in here. One of them may be trailing from our last topic, but it applies to all of these requirements. How soon will an RFI be published, or could an RFI be published, and do companies need to respond to an RFI to be able to participate in the later RFPs? So first, when could RFIs be published? They could be published as soon as next month, or this month. I guess it's August 1st. We are deep in our acquisition planning right now. We started organizing our teams for these requirements in late April, and we're working on solidifying our information. So as soon as we have a solid draft PWS and we know that we want to go ask questions through an RFI, we can work with the contracting officer to get an RFI out. So the squishy answer is as soon as now, and as late as maybe a month before the solicitation is coming out, or even bumping up against that solicitation, anytime that we need to get that information. Do you need to respond to an RFI to be able to participate in the RFP? No. An RFI is you helping us gather information so that we can make the solicitation better, we can make the resulting contract better, or identifying who out there is available. But just because you didn't respond to an RFI does not mean that you would automatically be excluded from an RFP. We do use the RFI responses to help us inform things like what contract vehicle we're going to use or what socioeconomic set aside we may employ. So if you're not on that contract vehicle or in that socioeconomic category, then you may not be able to participate in the RFP. But not participating in the RFI doesn't make that true. And then we have a couple of
time.
Okay, thank you. I will answer questions about total contract value in the document at the by the end of the month. So now we're still staying with Kurt. He's a very popular guy today, and he will talk about our FPAC administrative system delivery services.
All right, thank you, Kara. All right, so this is a target award of Q1 FY25, annual estimated value between 1 and 3 million. This is a kind of a unique procurement. We have a portfolio of 15, currently 15 distinct applications targeted at typically administrative functions, either within the business center or within specific agency areas, or in some cases, it's more of a training tool for employees within agency areas. Requirements here, although, well, let me back up here. So first and foremost is we need vendors that are strong in agile software delivery. Again, 15 distinct applications here. Most of them are on the .NET platform. A lot of them are in what we call an operations and maintenance state. However, we have recently developed a couple of new applications, and we certainly anticipate, new enhancements, new requirements and functionality being proposed to be incorporated into those systems. So again, just a strong background in agile software development is needed here for this requirement. Second piece of this is we are also including our RPA work, our robotics process automation. Currently, we have a number of bots that are running and supporting FPAC programs and functions. We have relied on some resources at the department level, as well as an interagency agreement with OCIO DISC for the creation and maintenance and support of these. We would like to have some of those support and capabilities built within this contract here. The incumbent is Attain-X Incorporated. Measuring quality, again, it is a number of unique systems. So being able to work across all of the business stakeholders, business owners, to make sure that we are, building and incorporating their requirements and priorities, and being able to define the specific acceptance criteria, and making sure that we're managing all that work internally, critically important there. We need to make sure that we're looking at, again, those quality gates, building in all of our, CI/CD tool pipeline, leveraging, all of those specific tool sets, such as Jenkins and Bitbucket and SonarQube, looking at any, specific requirements from a department or FPAC, scenario for security and for compliance of 508, et cetera. And where we can, obviously leverage that automation in the delivery and the pipeline, as well as for our testing efforts. Historically, yeah, this is a suite of applications that's been in our portfolio for a little while. Most of them are in that kind of operations and maintenance state. However, we do have a couple of those new systems that I mentioned, as well as we are migrating all of these systems off of our disk hosting environment over to the AWS cloud. That work is in progress, but we anticipate that may lead into this new contract. Success factors, having that experience with running Agile and delivering Agile software to stakeholders and customers, building solid products that are defect error free as possible. Because of the number of systems here and the various business areas, it's important to have that good communication, customer service there. And then the third part is the technical expertise. Again, like we said, a lot of these are built on the .NET platform. So having that background, as well as the experience of hosting or supporting applications hosted on the AWS cloud, and being able to build that automation into the software delivery process. Okay, at this point, I'll open it up for any questions.
Thanks, Kurt. Our first question has actually come in a couple of times during various presentations. I will answer it. Is the incumbent eligible to recompete? We do not stop incumbents from recompeting. You do have a lot of knowledge and information that can help you put forward a strong solution and quote to us. Anyone who is competing must be on the particular contract vehicle and fit within the particular socioeconomic set aside if we are using one. So is the incumbent eligible to recompete? Yes, if you are on the contract vehicle and you fit within the socioeconomic set aside. But we do not prevent incumbents from submitting proposals simply because they are incumbents. We also have a question about past performance and what type of past performance would be required for this opportunity. We have not set our evaluation factors yet. We're still very early in the process, pulling together our requirements, beginning to work with the contracting officer about the procurement strategy, which includes the evaluation plan, what factors we would be using, what we would be looking for there. So the answer to that is we don't know if we're going to look at past performance or what we would be looking for yet. That information will be available in the solicitation when it comes out. My question for you, Kurt, is can the RPA development and maintenance be executed separately from the Agile software development requirement? And I am going to jump in to say that we are treating this as a single acquisition requirement, but I don't know if you have any additional nuances about the execution of that work from a program delivery standpoint.
Right. So obviously understanding that these are, different platforms, different capabilities, and a little bit different skill sets needed for those. So understanding that we would want to manage, this contract and our agile processes in a similar manner, but Yeah, for the execution part of it, understanding that, we may have different team members that are associated with potentially supporting an RPA platform versus more of a software delivery .NET web-based development platform. So not sure if that answers the question, but we do understand that they are different technologies here, but we would like to, manage them under the same processes for this contract.
Thank you. And I know we're at time. I'm briefing the next slide, so I'm going to ask Kurt one last question before switching over to my topic. Would you be open to sharing the names of the RPA tools, if it's UiPath, Blue Prism, Power Automate, or Automation Anywhere? And another question, which automation platform is currently being used, which I think might be the same question.
Yeah. So good question. Currently, we're leveraging UiPath as our RPA software and platform. However, I'm not saying we're not open to leveraging any other technology if we feel like there's some additional benefits or capabilities that we can leverage there that are better suited for FPAC. We're certainly open to that. But UiPath is the current tool that we're using.
Thank you very much. And I will brief our next topic on IT business operations, tool support, and administration on behalf of one of my fellow section chiefs within our business operations branch. NRCS has a need for an automated workflow and documentation management to manage our workflow on our IT funding requisitions and approvals. There's a lot of paperwork that goes into funding approvals, making sure that we have all of the right sign-offs, that all of that documentation is in a central place, that it has been attached to the correct procurement request, contracts, agreements, requisition request, interagency agreements. A lot of the work, that administrative work that goes into managing business operations and tracking money properly, managing the taxpayers' dollars properly. So this is a small but mighty requirement for the maintenance of our IT business operations tool, which has already been built in the Salesforce platform. So this is support and administration of the existing tool that is used by roughly 60 stakeholders across NRCS and the FPAC Business Center, folks in our budget area, folks in our information solutions area, and it does manage sensitive financial and procurement information. So supporting this tool may mean that you have access to information that could prevent you from bidding on other areas. So what are we looking for in terms of quality? When issues come through, they need to be resolved quickly. This is an O&M only situation with maybe some minor enhancements going on. So issues need to be acknowledged within 4 hours of them being reported. When we do have enhancements, we will agree upon a schedule, and those enhancements need to be deployed defect-free per that schedule. When we have O&M items, we need to make sure that any of our critical or high priority issues are resolved within 4 hours, and all issues are resolved within 24 hours. That's our response time. Our resolution time may be a little bit longer, 24 hours for critical issues, two days with high priority, and 3 days for other issues. So again, this is a small focused system where it's a team of 1 to 2 people, which in the past has included a technical project manager supporting this one system that helps us keep our money moving so that we can award contracts, so that we can fund interagency agreements, and so that all of our documentation is in order when the auditors come knocking. So based on our experience, what are some important success factors? Knowledge of Salesforce, and specifically workflow and development capabilities, and the strong ability to work with other federal staff or with federal staff and other contractor groups. Because there is some back and forth going on there, not just contractor groups in terms of other software development teams, but our business operations area is supported by some contracts as well. So we have both federal and contractor stakeholders who are the customers of the system. So like I said, small but mighty, annual value under $250,000. Anticipated period of performance would be about 5 years, and that's actually true of most of our requirements. I'm not saying that all of our requirements are automatically a base +4, but that is where we start, and then we tend to deviate from that based on what makes sense for that requirement. So going back to some of the questions we had gotten about total contract value, as a rule of thumb, it is safe to take your annual value, multiply it by 5 to get an estimated total contract value, understanding that our final requirement may be shorter. So we do have a question. Are there any specific contracts where GIS mapping or analysis services would be included? Not on this requirement. We do have some geospatial work included in our conservation agile release trains that Doug briefed earlier. I'm not seeing any other questions coming in on this requirement. And so in the interest of time and making sure that folks have an opportunity to share what they have going on, I will now welcome Mimi Fowler-Korstein, who is our Farm Loan Section Chief, to brief our Farm Business Plan requirement.
Good afternoon. Our target award time is fourth quarter of FY25. This is estimated to be a $5 to $10 million value award. Our agency need is for a direct farm loan our agency requirements for a direct farm loan business plan to support loan underwriting. In terms of a brief description, this will be we anticipate this to be a short-term cloud-based agricultural underwriting COTS solution to analyze creditworthiness to support or our approval or rejection of direct loans. FPAC plans to replace this solution with a FedRAMP certified SaaS or custom-built solution by early FY 2027. How does FPAC measure quality? This solution needs to meet the unique farm loan requirements that are based on legislative, regulatory, and policy changes that are quite frequent within the program area. So flexibility and being agile in terms of making changes is critical. Software releases are production ready and require documentation, quality documentation, training, and without defects. This has been a challenge, and we want to really stress that it is important that we be able to make any software releases, whether they be something that is a legislative change or if it's an update in the version of the software, that we be able to do that smoothly. Historically, we have utilized a proprietary solution with heavy customization. And that is needed to meet those unique farm loan program requirements. Based on our experience, the important success factors are the ability to sustain the existing solution or implement replacement solution with minimal disruption. This goes back to that quality measure as well. We need to make this, our transitions have to be smooth, our updates have to be smooth. We need to have minimal disruption to the farm loan service delivery area. The second important success factor is that it be cloud-based. Our incumbent company now is Moody's Analytics. And that is the end of my story for Farm Business Plan. Any questions? I'll turn it over to Kara to direct those questions.
I don't have any questions specific to this requirement, but I'm going to ask a question to try and tease something
Sure.
out. So, Mimi, I see that you talked about a short-term 12-month requirement, but then you also said that we're planning to replace this solution. Can you talk a little bit about what this short-term means and between where we are today and our future plans for a longer-term FedRAMP certified SaaS or custom-built solution?
So we have done an AOA to look at products that are out there that could possibly fill the bill, so that we know there are other things out there, and we want to utilize those products if possible. If not, based on the timeline that we have, then we would be put in a position of having a more custom-built solution. But our current software does not meet our expectations. We literally have to enter data in one system, swivel chair to another system to enter the same data. We cannot sustain that any longer. Does that help? Does that answer your question, Kara?
It does. So what it sounds like to me is that this requirement, the one we're talking about on the slide here, is about maintaining services while we in making sure that we can continue to deliver services day in and day out, while we then pursue that longer term solution, which would be a separate procurement or a separate action.
That is correct.
Thank you. This is again, I don't know that this question is specific to this particular topic, but I am going to grab some of your time and ask it. Actually, I'm not, because we are at time and I need to move. So thank you, Mimi.
You're welcome.
And we will now welcome Stan Sudarth, who is going to talk about our IT program management services. He is our IT program management services team lead, and we'll talk about FPAC program management services requirement.
Okay, thank you, Kara. And again, welcome everyone. So as stated or shared, I'm Stan Sudarth. I'm one of two team leads reporting to David Stropes, who's our section chief. He's out traveling and sends his greetings in return. As far as our needs, PMS, our program management services group, is really in a unique position as we provide service and support roles across all of farm production and conservation. Our team members, and this is going to be for both Fed and contract, we are what we call is matrixed, meaning we are matrixed out from our program management services section out to and across all of the FPAC mission areas, including FBC, FSA, NRCS, and RMA. With requirements within our services, we fill a variety of support roles consisting of portfolio, program, project, and product management. Our support roles and our day-to-day work are foundationally based on a number of acceptable standards and guidance frameworks, beginning with what is in place through FPAC, as well as industry acceptable standards or practices. And then to expand on this, each one of our support roles relies on these standards, frameworks, and practices, beginning with the FPAC SDLC, which is a part of our FPAC IT manufacturing process framework. And of course, we can add to this our project management industry SDLC, along with Agile, Safe, Scrum, and in some cases, based on project history and current needs, our project managers may even exercise hybrid approaches when working with established businesses, development, and stakeholder groups. A couple of additional areas that's a part of the program management service area consist of leading our FPAC communities of practice. It's just a few years old now, and as we've seen notable interest and growth, we would like to see this communication platform continue to mature and serve the overall FPAC enterprise as we reach out not only to the project management types, but as we open this up to include expanded topics of interest from our project managers, which may span across and increase our interaction with other groups such as developers, architects, security, etc. Then we have our release management team, the IT portfolio operations release management team provides support to accomplish visibility and transparency for FPAC's overall IT portfolio. That aligns with the organizational strategy. This includes, but is not limited to, establishing communication platforms, influencing collaboration with support teams, and promoting activities to enhance executive level reporting, streamline processes, and minimize risk. We also want to highlight collaboration and communication. It's a daily part of our program and project manager roles, beginning with identifying and starting that collaboration with specific stakeholder groups, then opening appropriate communication channels, which can vary, but it's through meaningful engagements unique to given each stakeholder group, and filling their specific needs. I'm going to jump across to history. So for our history, as I shared earlier, we have two teams. We have Team A, which is noted as our enterprise program support. So although we started out specific to enterprise level support, we've really kind of evolved into a combination of enterprise and direct line support. It's just based on the need and priorities set by the different FPAC mission areas. While Team B, our portfolio engagement team, they're truly matrixed out to direct line support to those FPAC mission areas, and perhaps with a notable presence in both FBC, FSA, and NRCS. These matrixed engagements can range from support that lasts, maybe just a few weeks to several years, with even a few of our team members having provided long-term support going back to when FPAC was organized, and even one or two of them prior to that. As the last bullet indicates, there are over 80 plus different projects and efforts that our team is currently engaged with. This count is supported by, again, both federal and contract PM team members, and in some cases, due to size, maybe complexity of an engagement, we may have more than one PM assigned to a single project or effort. It's important to know that all of our PMS team members' time is being fully utilized. In other words, we have no bench. We have no one waiting for work. And to just briefly share a case in point, here in the last 2 weeks, we had a support request that came in, and based on priority, visibility, and need, we're currently in the process of realigning the work of 3 different individuals to accomplish that request. Again, it's all based on what centers around priority, visibility, and need. So for quality, as mentioned, we base not only our alignment with, but our execution of established FPAC standards and frameworks with the established FPAC IT manufacturing process framework. But we also include and interject as needed industry accepted practices as well. So these are really the driving force behind each PM and their assistance that's provided in achieving success in their execution and delivery of their respective assigned projects and efforts. For success, based on our past experience, our most common request for support typically leans towards or even requires a senior level skill set, while also being very adaptable or flexible to a given need. One of the terms we've used in the program management services section over the past number of years is entrepreneurial spirit, meaning from our perspective, it's that ability to bring together, to guide, to lead, and maximize individual skill sets according to the needs of an assigned project or effort. So maybe if I could put it metaphorically, on any given day, our project managers, we can be asked to give a senior or executive level presentation in the morning, and then in the afternoon, we can be asked to take out the trash. So again, just metaphorically speaking. Then, as a means to kind of wrap this up, looking at 3 of the bullet points that's on the screen. So under requirements, collaboration and communication, under measuring quality, we've got an engagement tailored to the organizational needs. And then as well under success factors, the ability to foster relationships, meeting people at and the needs where they are. And that's really an important aspect to our group, all with the understanding that one size does not fit all, right? And then one thing I'll interject, as far as our federal staff is concerned, just want to give you some idea as far as the different certifications or mastery level training that's been achieved. We've got the what we call the FPAC PPM, so the Federal Acquisition Certificate for Program and Project Managers. Now this one is specific to the federal staff only, but we do have as well the Project Management Institute, PMP. We have Safe Agilist, we have Safe Practitioners, we have Safe Product Manager, Product Owners, we have Safe for Teams, we have Leading Safe, we have Scrum Masters, we have Lean Six Sigma, we have a variety of different belt levels currently. We also have ITIL, so the Information Technology Information Library, and then we again have other mastery level training and certifications in areas such as development, architecture, security, risk management, and strategic leadership. And with that, Kara, I'll give it back to you.
Thank you. We have a couple of questions about organizational conflict of interest, whether or not the service provider, and another question focuses on the prime contractor, would be OCI'd out of other opportunities. I'm going to jump in here and say absolutely. The function of the FPAC program management services requires independent advice and guidance to the government, and also has access to highly sensitive information that would create a conflict of interest with our other acquisition opportunities. So not just the prime contractor, but everyone, prime and any subs on this requirement, would be OCI'd and restricted from competing on any other FPAC IT requirement. We also have a question about the procurement forecast that we've been referencing at the bottom of the slide, and whether or not there's a URL. When we get to the software slide, in a couple of slides, you will actually see that URL, and it will work for all of the procurement forecast IDs through the entire presentation. Is there a preference for or against bids from either prime sub teams or JV's mentor proteges? No, we do not have any preference one way or another in terms of how those teams are put together and are meeting that requirement. We've got another question about OCIs. There's a couple of questions about the incumbent is an 8A with an Alaska Native corporation. Are there plans to look at small businesses? I believe that this is currently in the 8A program, which means that it would likely stay in the 8A program, but I am not going to speak to that definitively. The procurement strategy is it has not been set, has not been decided by the contracting office. I do know that our requirement has morphed and changed and grown, quite frankly, over the past couple of years. So I do not know exactly what our socioeconomic set aside is going to be.
And with that, we have to move on.
Thank you. So I would now like to welcome Harry Marudas, our IT Operations Management Change Manager, to talk about our FPAC IT Operations Management and Strategy Support requirement.
Hello all. I'm filling in for Eric Bear right now, who is the section head of the IT Operations Management and Strategy Support section. Our target award for fiscal year 25 quarter 4, and the estimated value will be $5 million up to $10 million. Our agency needs are that in a multi-organizational and multi-contractor environment, FPAC ISD needs a consistent and predictable framework for IT operations management. So that requirement is to develop, maintain, and support IT operation processes for the following areas, including engagement with stakeholders from multiple organizations and service providers. Some of the things we do, the primary things we do are asset management, configuration management, change management, financial metrics and reporting using Tableau, and CEC mandate compliance. The tool that we primarily use right now is ServiceNow for all those points. How do we measure quality? Through reports and dashboards that are complete and accurate, asset lists that are complete, current, and accurate, change calendar is complete, current, and accurate, processes reflecting the USDA, FPAC, and the industry practices. Our team currently has 8 resources on it. Current services do not include financial reporting or support of CEC mandates. These are expected changes to scope. Based on our experience and most important success factors, those are expert knowledge of IT infrastructure library, or ITIL, experience developing dashboards in Tableau, technical background in networking and voice communications, development and operational experience in ServiceNow. The incumbent is ATI. And for those wondering, the tree is Palm. And Kara, I'll give it back to you.
Thank you, Harry. And at this point, we have no questions for you. So we're going to pause here just quietly for a minute and see if any questions show up. Otherwise, we will move to our next requirement.
And of course, if anybody comes up with questions later, they can send it to Cheryl.
Absolutely. Okay, I'm not seeing anything pop up. So thank you very much, Harry. We now will welcome Garland Rankin, our Shared Services Testing Team Lead, to discuss FPAC Quality Management and Testing Services.
Thanks, Kara. Good day, everyone. As Kara stated, I'm the Shared Services Testing Team Lead. And I'm going to go over the FPAC Quality Management and Testing Services. We're estimating the target award in the fourth quarter of fiscal year 2025 with an estimated annual value of 5 to 10 million. Our need is to provide the FPAC mission areas within USDA quality management, quality assurance, independent validation, verification, IV&V, and application performance testing and monitoring. This is to support a wide range of diverse IT projects, systems, and investments, all which is managed by the USDA FPAC mission areas in furtherance of its critical missions and conservation initiatives. The requirement will be to collaborate efforts to optimize IT and business processes, leading to the process refinements and corresponding systems and testing updates. Working with a wide range of stakeholders, including customers, policymakers, vendors, government users, to drive the comprehensive process improvements throughout. How do we measure the quality? We're looking at the number of incidents identified to the Quality Assurance Surveillance Plan, QASP, routine weekly and monthly status reports to management, measure against objectives as defined in the SO and QASP, and vendors is responsible for maintaining adequate personnel and resources to meet contract needs and requirements throughout the historical information on the existing contract. The current team holds an overreaching responsibility for implementation of all facets of quality management, IV&V, and performance testing. This encompasses the identification of opportunities, standardization process and procedures, execution, rigorous and independent testing using diverse methodologies to assess project quality in accordance and customer requirements. Furthermore, the team delivers impartial reporting to both team members and to the leadership. Based on our past experience, our success factors are quality assessing the effectiveness of QM, QA, and IV&V process. Commitment from leadership is essential for successful quality initiatives. Effective communication and partnership are essential for early defect identification and prevention. A well-trained, experienced QA, IV&V are virtual for successful test execution and defect prevention. Clear project objectives and requirements. Our current incumbent is Shaninga Services and Federal Solutions. I will now turn it back over to Kara for any questions.
Thank you. And the question we have at the moment is there any organizational conflict of interest for this requirement? Yes. There is an organizational conflict of interest between this requirement and the software delivery that this contract would help with the testing. And because the questions about organizational conflict of interest have been pervasive and relevant with all of these areas appropriately, as we send the Q&As out, we will go ahead and make sure that we are identifying any known organizational conflict of interest between various requirements from, this requirement or the individual requirement being referenced to any of the other work happening in the FPAC IT area. So that information will come out in our Q&As later this month. I think that the other question that I have here is actually referencing the previous topic about asking about dashboarding technologies like Looker. So we will address that in the Q&A document later in the month. I don't see any other questions for Garland. We will pause here and give folks an opportunity to submit any questions that you might have. And I do want to thank everyone while we're waiting. We have received some very good questions as we've gone through, and we are interested in hearing additional questions as they come forward. We do have a question for Garland. Does FPAC currently use any automation tools in our workflows? If so, could you provide a list of the specific tools that we're using? Garland, is that something that you're able to answer today, or should we follow up?
Sorry. Sorry.
Yep.
My dog started barking. I hit the quick mute. That is something I can get the list of what tools we've been experimenting with. Our goal is to be able to automate our regression testing and then further testing in the future. So I will provide that the current software that we're looking at.
Thank you. Okay, I will brief the software licensing and subscription requirements next. FPAC Information Solutions Division renews several commercial off-the-shelf software licenses and software as a service subscriptions throughout the fiscal year. Most of our renewals occur in quarter 3 and 4. So rather than try to cover the myriad requirements here in this presentation almost a year in advance, we invite everyone to review the USDA procurement forecast. We do update the forecast as often as possible, but not less than quarterly. The link to the procurement forecast, which covers not just our software and subscription requirements, but all of our FPAC IT requirements. This is where those procurement forecast IDs connect to. Go take a look. When it comes to the software licensing and subscriptions, I do want to identify just a couple of important notes. The first one on our cloud-based solutions. All cloud-based solutions must be FedRAMP certified. FPAC does not plan to sponsor FedRAMP certification for any commercial solutions. So that means that you need to come to us with cloud-based solutions that are already government-wide FedRAMP certified. And before the solicitation is going out before award. The FedRAMP certification for another federal agency does not meet the government-wide certification requirements. There are two ways to do the FedRAMP certification. One is government-wide and the other is specific to a federal agency. We are not able to leverage FedRAMP certification that was done for another individual federal agency. That would require us to sponsor you to become FedRAMP certified for us. We are interested in cloud-based solutions that already have government-wide FedRAMP certification. And in keeping with our small business first approach, we do maximize competition among small business resellers to the extent practical. So while we may come with a solution that says we need to buy XYZ solution, that does not mean that we're necessarily going to one company. We are trying to maximize that competition amongst the authorized small business resellers. Before I hand this, actually, let me see if I have any questions related to this. Not in the software area, although we've now had some questions come in for Garland's area that we will capture in the Q&A document. So before I hand this back to Cheryl, I do want to extend thanks to everyone who participated today. All of the businesses and companies who came and took 3 hours out of your day to come hear about FPAC's requirements. I also want to thank Tanya Gross for her leadership, all of our program presenters who came to talk and answer questions about their program areas, our contracting partners who work with us every day on these procurements, and Cheryl, who helped us put this together and connected us with all of you. So with that, please welcome back Cheryl Welch for closing remarks.
Well, first, thank you, Kara, and I want to echo exactly what you said, presenters and Tanya, thank you so much for participating today. We really appreciate you taking the time to be with us. Some great information was shared here. Attendees, especially you all who are still here, thank you so much for your interest. And please complete the survey that Chris LaSure briefed earlier. I will be providing that slide deck to everybody who attended today by close of business tomorrow. I will continue to accept questions via email. You see my email there, right up there, through close of business August 6th. So continue to send me those questions. We do intend to have the completed Q&A consolidated and out to you all by close of business August 30th, along with a link to the recording, so you all can sit back and listen to it again. Thank you everyone for being here. This concludes today's event. Have a wonderful rest of the day. Thank you.